Slava Isusa Christus, Slava Navika, glory be to Jesus Christ. This is Father Basil again. I know I haven't done any of these podcasts for a long time, but I'm going to try to do another one once every few days to catch up with book of Genesis that we were talking about. So, we are on Genesis chapter 18. The Lord appeared to Abraham by the oaks of Mamre as he sat at the entrance of the tent in the heat of the day. He looked up and saw 3 men standing near him. When he saw them, he ran from the tent entrance to meet them and bowed down to the ground. He said, "My Lord, if I find favor with you, do not pass by your servant. Let a little water be brought, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree. Let me bring a little bread, that you may refresh yourselves, and after that you may pass on, since you have come to your servant." So they said, "Do as you have said." And Abraham hastened into the tent to Sarah and said, "Make ready quickly 3 measures of choice flour, knead it and make cakes." Abraham ran to the herd and took a calf, tender and good, and gave it to the servant who hastened to prepare it. Then he took curds and milk and the calf that he had prepared and set it before them, and he stood by them under the tree while they ate. They said to him, "Where is your wife Sarah?" And he said, "There in the tent." Then one said, "I will surely return to you in due season, and your wife Sarah shall have a son." And Sarah was listening at the tent entrance behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old, advanced in age. It had ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of woman. So Sarah laughed to herself, saying, "After I had grown old, and my husband is old, shall I have pleasure?" The Lord said to Abraham, "Why did Sarah laugh and say, shall I indeed bear a child, now that I am old? Is anything too wonderful for the Lord? At the said time I will return to you in due season, and Sarah shall have a son." But Sarah denied, saying, "I did not laugh," for she was afraid. He said, "Oh yes, you did laugh." Then the men set out from there, and they looked towards Sodom, and Abraham went with them to set them on their way. The Lord said, "Shall I hide from Abraham what I am about to do? Seeing that Abraham shall become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. No, for I have chosen him, that he may charge his children and his household after him to keep the way of the Lord, by doing righteousness and justice, so that the Lord may bring about for Abraham what he has promised him." Then the Lord said, "How great is the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah, and how very grave their sin." I must go down and see whether they have done altogether according to the outcry that has come to me, and if not, I will know. So the men turned from there and went towards Sodom, while Abraham remained standing before the Lord. Then Abraham came near and said, "Will you indeed sweep away the righteous with the wicked?" Suppose there are 50 righteous within the city. Will you then sweep away the place and not forgive it for the 50 righteous who are in it? Far be it from you to do such a thing, to slay the righteous with the wicked, so that the righteous fare as the wicked. Far be that from you. Shall not the judge of all the earth do what is just? And the Lord said, "If I find at Sodom 50 righteous in the city, I will forgive the whole place for their sake." Abraham answered, "Let me take it upon myself to speak to the Lord, I who am but dust and ashes. Suppose 5 of the 50 righteous are lacking. Will you destroy the whole city for lack of 5? And he said, "I will not destroy it if I find 45 there." Again he spoke to him, "Suppose 40 are found there," he answered. "For the sake of 40 I will not do it." Then he said, "Oh, do not let the Lord be angry if I speak. Suppose 30 are found there." He answered, "I will not do it if I find 30 there." He said, "Let me take it upon myself to speak to the Lord. Suppose 20 are found there." He answered, "For the sake of 20, I will not destroy it." Then he said, "Oh, do not let the Lord be angry if I speak just once more. Suppose 10 are found there." He answered, "For the sake of 10, I will not destroy it." And the Lord went his way when he had finished speaking to Abraham, and Abraham returned to his place. Wow. So this chapter 18 of Genesis has a lot of information. First of all, those 3 strangers, who of course we know are angels, visited Abraham and told Abraham that Sarah, his wife, was going to bear a son in her old age. And so, Sarah, it's very common for us to disbelieve things because Sarah was old. She was past childbearing age. She never had children before. And being at her age, she thought it was quite funny for someone to say that she was going to have a baby at her age. But with God, all things are possible. With God, everything that seems impossible becomes possible because God is in control of everything. And later on in history, when the angel Gabriel appeared to Mary and said that Mary is going to bear Jesus, and Mary too was wondering how this could be done, but she never distrusted the Lord. Mary never said, never laughed and said, "Well, this is ridiculous. This can't happen because this is against human nature. I can't. If I don't know a man, if I don't know marital intercourse, how am I going to have a child?" Mary trusted that whatever the angel said was going to happen, but Sarah was different because of her human, I wouldn't call it sinfulness, but that we don't have that trust in the Lord that we should. Like if an angel of the Lord appears to us and says something, we should know that it's going to happen because the God is in control of everything. Another time is Zechariah in the New Testament. If you read the story of the birth of John the Baptist, and the angel appeared to Zechariah and said the same thing, that his wife Elizabeth in her old age is going to bear a son. And he didn't understand how either. He was very much like Sarah and said, "Well, how is this going to happen? I'm old. My wife is old. We are beyond childbearing age. There's no way this is going to happen." But again, we have to trust that God makes things happen out of impossibility. Nothing is impossible with God. So that's the most important thing to learn about this. Nothing is ever impossible with God. And then later on in this chapter, God is talking to Abraham about the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, and especially Sodom. And, Abraham basically talks God down, say, well, if there's only 10 righteous people in this whole city, would you still destroy it? And God said, if I find 10 people in the city who are righteous, I would not destroy it. Think about that for a second. God could not even find 10 righteous people in that city. if he would have found 10 people who believed in him, who worshipped him, who followed the God's law, who were morally acceptable to God, who did everything that God asked him to do, he would not have destroyed the city. But he couldn't even find 10 people who were righteous. That is scary to think about that. And in today's world, if God came to any of our cities today, cities with 1 million people, cities with 5 million people, or even small cities with, 20,000 people, would he find 10 righteous people in that city so that he wouldn't destroy it? That is so scary to think about, that there's not even a handful of people who are righteous according to God. That is so scary to think about. So we have to repent. We have to turn our lives back to God. This is so important. If we don't repent, if we don't ask for forgiveness, we are just like those people in the Old Testament, and we will be destroyed. Our souls will be destroyed because of our sinfulness and disobedience to God. So that's the story of chapter 18 of Genesis.